Welcome to Beat Diabetes, where we share a very simple but very powerful truth, and that is that you do not have to put up with diabetes. Today we're going to do a little bit of house cleaning. I've got a number of different topics to share. One of them has to do with an experience I had with the low-carb tortilla. Now, when I first realized that you could go to the grocery store and buy low-carb tortillas, I was thrilled. There are so many things you cannot get apart from ordering them online, and the idea of being able to go to the grocery store and paying about $3 and get a big package of low-carb tortillas, that was just great, and you can do so many things with them. But as I have done this channel and interacted with diabetics, and they've shared some of their experiences, and I've had a few of my own, I realized that maybe all that glitters is not always gold. And I've had people say, Dennis, they don't work for me. I know they say they've only got like 4 net grams of carbs, but they raise my blood sugar way more than that should. And I've had at least one experience where I tested myself randomly about 3+ hours after eating a low-carb tortilla, or maybe I think it was 2, and it was just way too high 3 hours later, 3+ hours later. So I didn't buy that brand anymore, and I've tested myself a number of times, and they don't do badly. But the other night, I had an experience that just about cured me of the store-bought low-carb tortillas, and they may work for you, so I'm not saying everybody should give them up. And they do sort of work for me, but not completely. The other night, I had a taco with a low-carb tortilla, and I didn't bother to test myself. It was just one. It wasn't 2. Or 3 or 4. It was just one low-carb tortilla. I think it should have been around 5 net grams of carbs. I knew the meat wasn't going to be a problem. Cheese wasn't going to be a problem. Lettuce wasn't going to be a problem. I had a little taco sauce. A few carbs to that, but not much. So I wasn't expecting anything. Didn't test myself an hour, hour and a half afterwards like normal. But maybe 3.5 hours later, I thought, it was about bedtime by that point. It was like 10:30 or so. And I thought, I think I'll just test myself and see if my blood sugar's back down to base level, which for me is like hopefully under 100, but at least 100 or lower. And I like it to get right back down there as quick as possible. So I tested myself, and I was shocked when I saw a 115. And I'm like, I haven't eaten in 3.5 hours, and I just had one low-carb tortilla and the meat, the cheese, and taco sauce and so forth, the lettuce. So I thought, 115, that is just unacceptable for being 3.5 hours after eating a low-carb meal. So the next night, I made the homemade version. I first saw that on Serious Keto, and he found it from a guy in Israel. And that involves almond flour and I think it's called isolated whey something or other, and whole psyllium husk and milk and an egg. I'll put a link to that video. Anyway, I did the homemade kind, which I knew would be lower in carbs and really better in terms of a glucose spike. And I tested myself that night around the same time. I ate, 6:45, 7 o'clock, probably at the latest. And around 10:30 that night, or maybe 10:20, I think it was around 10:30, I tested myself. Now remember, the night before, using a low-carb shell that I bought at a store, it was 115. The second night, doing the homemade version, it was 89. And I'm like, whoa, can there be that much difference between this homemade tortilla and the store-bought? Is it really that much better? Apparently so. So, I've talked about how Mike the Meter is a motivational specialist. Well, I got motivated to pretty much stop buying the low-carb tortillas. I'm not going to promise I never will again in my life, but I'm going to tend to move more toward the homemade version, and you can do it in a few minutes. It's not a big, long process. You do it in the microwave, so it's not bad. But boy, just think about a 115 and an 89. Now, granted, some of you are saying, well, Dennis, 115 would be great for me. It would be for you, maybe, but for me, no. I'm used to lower numbers than that, especially around bedtime. And by the way, it's kind of a good thing sometimes to test yourself around bedtime, because if you're too high at bedtime, there's excellent chances you're going to be too high in the morning. So if you want a good morning fasting number, check it out around 10:30, 11 o'clock and see where you are. Hopefully you've had your meal early. It's been a low-carb dinner, and by now it's gone down to your base level. All right, a few quick testimonies and then a couple of other points. Here's one person who says, Dennis, you're a godsend, a blessing to a lot of people. I've been doing keto about 2 years. Between Dr. Fong, Dr. Berry, and you, I've learned a lot. My A1c is back to normal. My blood pressure is back to a normal range. This is the best I've felt in 20 years. I'm 67 years old, and people tell me I don't look my age or act it. God bless all of you out there making a difference in the diabetic lives. Well, I love the word back to normal. He said it about two things. He said my blood sugar's back to normal, my glucose levels, and he said my blood pressure is back to normal. And I find that blood pressure is like a little follower who follows right along with your glucose levels. If you get the glucose levels down, more than likely blood pressure is going to follow right after that. And that brings up another point. Someone wrote in, they said it might be a good idea, or I think it would be a good idea to warn people about their blood pressure. Mine went down a lot. I had to cut my blood pressure drugs in half. I started feeling fatigued after about 2 months of doing the low carb. It wasn't the same as being tired from not having enough sleep, so I started checking it. It seemed normal, but then I was getting dizzy after doing Pilates, so much so I had to hold onto a chair until it went away. After reducing my medication, the fatigue and dizziness went. Even though I've already done the first 3 months, got my results, I'm excited for other people. Look forward to seeing what results they get, speaking about the 2022 challenge. So this person is like, well, I'm already there. I'm already in the fives. And I've heard from many, and some people say, well, I still want to do the challenge. I'm already in the fives, but I'd still like to do it, see if there's anything else I can learn or new recipes or whatever. So feel free, sign up. And by the way, you do that by sending an email to grace@spiritofgrace.org. Write the words, count me in on the subject line, and you will be a part of this program. It's a 6-month program, and the challenge is get down into the fives. Now, if you're already there, maybe you can just use this as a brusher-upper, if there is such a phrase, a brusher-upper. Okay, that might work. Here's another person, 73 years old. Says, your motivation is essential for us. You're a blessing to me. I'm 73. I brought my A1c from 11 to 5.4. Let me say it again. I brought my A1c from 11 to 5.4. Thank you so much. You know what amazes me? Oftentimes, it takes decades of self-abuse to get yourself up to an 11 A1c or a 12 A1c. Or a 10 A1c, or a 9 A1c. Often, that's not an instant process. And you've spent years doing that. It's been years and years. You went through your 20s and it bumped up a bit. You went through your 30s, it raised some more. And finally, you're in your 40s or your 50s or wherever you are. And suddenly the doc says you've got a 10, you've got a 12. And here's what amazes me. Even though it took you decades to get up that high, you can get back down to normal levels or close to it in 3 to 6 months normally. No guarantee, of course, but many people, I would say most type 2 diabetics can get down there. This person is excited at the age of 73, which goes against all conventional wisdom, right? Because the older you get, the more diabetes is supposed to grip your neck with its icy cold hands and strangle the life out of you. You're just old, your metabolism is slowed down, you're overweight, you're out of shape, you're on your way out of life, you can't expect much, it's just going to get worse and worse. And we've got people here saying, hey, I'm 73 and I've gone down from 11 to a 5.4. Folks, it can be done. We're seeing it, we're hearing it over and over and over and over and over again. Here's another one. Dennis, I can't thank you enough for the wonderful support you've given me over the last 5 months. So this person has been at it for 5 months. In September, my A1c was, get ready for this, folks. This is amazing. In the beginning as I was starting to learn about people and the A1cs they had, I thought to myself, 12 is horrible. 14 is like extreme. This person says in September, my A1c was 17. 17. That's like the point where you shouldn't even be walking around, but some people do, And nobody quite understands why some people can handle that better than others. But whatever the case, whether you're walking around or you're not walking around, when you've got an A1c of 17, you are destroying your body every single day. You are committing a destruction of your own body. Anyway, in September, my A1c was 17 last week. And of course, I got this just recently, so in January of 2022. Last week, it was 6.3. That's not even a diabetic range. Yeah, it's pre-diabetic, but coming from 17 to 6.3, are there any superlatives we shouldn't use? Fantastic, terrific, wonderful, outstanding, amazing, thrilling. Wow, wow, wow is all I can say. 17 in September of last year. Now, 5 months later, 6.3. And this person says the fives are beginning to show themselves in his test. He says, I expect my next A1c to be in the normal range. Thank you, thank you. Here's a person says, I watch all your videos. I've dropped my A1c from over 15, which again is just about maxed out, about as high as it can go, 15, 16, 17. When you're there, you're at the extreme range of diabetes, not just ordinary diabetes, raging, destructive, monster diabetes. Over 15 down to 5.7. Listen to this. My doctor said she's brought up what I've done with my A1c to her colleagues. So she's told a bunch of other medical personnel, hey, you won't believe this patient I've got. They were at 15 A1c, and now they're at 5.7. So she's going around bragging about her patient to all her colleagues. Okay, well, we're going to close by talking a little bit more about our 2022 challenge. We are in close to the last week where you can sign up. The registration stops at the end of January. Right now, we're over 2,000. I'm surprised. We've had people helping us. Benedicta has helped me. I've done some names myself. And one of the things that amazes me is I'm typing in these names and these email addresses from the names. I mean, man, we have got people from all over the world. A lot of names I can't pronounce. I recognize some African names. We've got 8 names from the Middle East. We've got names from just all over the world. And people giving greetings from Ireland and Australia and just everywhere. This is truly an international phenomenon, the people signing up for this program. And people are always saying, maybe not all, but some people are saying, what's the cost? I've got to know if I can afford this or not. Well, you can afford it in terms of money because the cost is free, zero, zip, nada, nothing. It costs you nothing except time. It will cost you some time. I'm going to assign you some homework. I'm going to assign you some videos to watch. And of course, I'm going to share a diet with you. And you've got to give yourself to this. No halfway measures. No playing around. Give yourself to this for 6 months. Commit 6 months of your time to throw this monkey off your back and destroy diabetes out of your life. Give yourself 6 months. And if you do, I think you'll be so thrilled, you'll never want to go back.